Welcome to the Ash Christine Designs YouTube channel. This is a channel where I primarily post knitting podcasts that include things like crochet and some other fiber related crafts. Elsewhere on this YouTube channel, there may be a few random videos in there about like goal setting and like specifically knitting goal setting, and I think there's a yearly recap. Anyway, the main purpose of this channel is for a knitting podcast that does include other fiber arts. Today's podcast is episode 10. I finally got it right. Last time I uploaded a podcast in February, I kept calling it episode 8, I think, and it was episode 9. Either way, I fixed that now. This is episode 10, and today is Sunday, March 26th. I don't think I said the date in the last one, which is kind of an oversight, but neither here nor there. You can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, and a Facebook page if you look at any of the links down in the description below this video. Also in the description of this video, you will find links to anything that I talk about in this podcast. It will have a link. If I talk about a maker, a project that I'm working on, a pattern, any of that stuff that's available to find online will be linked in the description box below. I think that's it as far as opening stuff goes. I don't know. I'm still getting back into the swing of things when it comes to podcast recording. I took a 2-year long break, I think, 2 or 3 year long break. So I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things, and I'm bound to mess up every now and again. One other thing I wanted to mention before I get into everything is if you see me looking over there like you just did a second ago, I'm looking at my notes that I have written down for myself so I can remember to talk about everything that I wanted to talk about with each project, each finished object, etc. So yeah, that pretty much nails the opening, so let's get into some finished objects. So I don't have the first two to physically show you, so I will pop pictures right up there, or maybe over here. I'm not sure where it's going to end up, but somewhere on the screen there will be a picture right about now, and it's going to show you what it looks like. So this was a beanie that I knit for somebody following my Madison Square beanie pattern, which is available on everywhere that you can find my patterns: Ravelry, Etsy, Lovecrafts, etc. If it's available, you'll find it in the description box below. The yarn I used for this was Loops and Threads Wool-like in the purple colorway, and I used US 7 4.5mm needles, probably my Chiaogu red lace. If not, then my Knit Picks interchangeable shorts. I started that project February 24th, and I finished it March 3rd. So here's another look at it again, in case I took the picture off. And then the second one's the same thing. I don't have a picture to show you. I don't have it physically to show you, so there's going to be a picture here. And that is the same beanie. It's the Madison Square beanie pattern by me. It's available on Ravelry, Etsy, Lovecrafts, etc. And same needle size, US 7 4.5mm Chiaogu red lace, or possibly Knit Picks interchangeable shorts. But the yarn I used for that was Caron Simply Soft in the light blue colorway. And I started that project March 3rd, and I finished it March 6th. One thing I forgot to say about the first beanie, the purple one, is that I used Loops and Threads Wool-like in the purple colorway, held double, because it kind of works up more like a light fingering weight. It's not a true fingering weight, so I held it double to achieve a close to worsted weight gauge. It still came up a little bit thin, so I ended up adding a couple of repeats. I don't know if you could tell between the two pictures, but there's like 9 repeats in total for the blue, and there's like maybe 11 or 12 in total for the purple, and that's including the cables that you create as you're working through the decreases. So they came out to the same height, but I did have to add a few repeats to the purple one because the gauge was coming up a little bit small. If I had taken the time to swatch, which I didn't, if I had taken the time to swatch, I probably would have adjusted the needle size maybe, and then I would have adjusted the stitch count I cast on with in the first place. But it worked out. It was fine. And I'm really, really happy with the way that both of those two turned out. They have already been gifted to their recipients, so that's why I don't have them physically here to show you. But my next finished object I actually do have here to show you. This is a project I was working on last episode. I always want to say last week, but the last episode that I uploaded, I showed a headband I was working on, and it is now finished. This is the Meet Me in the Garden headband. It's a simple kind of garter stitch repeat interspersed with some slip stitches. Hopefully that gives you a good look. I am sitting by a window, but unfortunately storms are headed my way, so hopefully I get this recorded before anything rolls in, and hopefully the light stays kind of the same, so I don't have to turn on any of my ring lights or anything. But yeah. So this is a sample I knit up, and to be honest, it's really, really close to the vision I had in my head. I do really enjoy I'm trying to get a better look at it. I really do enjoy the front closure, but I'm not sure it turned out exactly like I thought it would in my head, so I may knit a second sample and kind of play with the closure a little bit. I'm not sure the twisted closure is exactly working for this. I think it's a lot of bulk here at the front, and combined with the texture, I just don't know if that's the right fit for it. So I may play with the closure a little bit. I may knit up a couple more samples in different colorways and kind of experiment and try it out. I do definitely want to do it in this colorway. This is Knit Pick Stroll Fingering in the Peapod colorway. I definitely want to knit up a sample, the correct sample, once I decide the closure with this colorway, because it is, I mean, it's Meet Me in the Garden, it's vine themed, it's, you know, you get the vibe. So I may knit that up again in the Knit Picks yarn, but I think I only have enough left for like one more iteration, so I don't want to use that up trying out different closures. So I may try it out in a couple of different colorways, and then once I kind of nail down the closure that I want, I will knit it again in the green. Anyways, that project used US size 4 3.5 millimeter needles, my ChiaoGoo red lace, probably a 16-inch circular. That's my preferred size. That's my preferred cord size for small things like headbands. And I started this project December 9th, 2021. I know. And I finished it March 14th, 2023. So fully over 2 years later after I started it. Fully a year and a little bit after I started it. Can't count. That is it, though, for finished objects. I had this and then the two beanies. Not a bad finished object haul for March. Obviously, it's always really, really nice to finish like a whole stack of things, but the works in progress I have on my needles now are kind of long-term projects. So other than a couple of things that might be quicker, so I don't anticipate finishing anything like super quickly. I'm not sure I'll have anything more than 1 to 2 finished objects in April, if even that much. But anyways, let's move on to works in progress. I'm going to start my works in progress with going over the ones I had from last episode, and then I'll introduce my new works in progress once I have spoken about all of my works in progress that were on the go, or on the needles last time. The last episode I uploaded. I hope that made sense. First work in progress from last episode is actually going to be my pinwheel scrap blanket. Super, super fun. I originally, last episode, I talked about how I wanted to have this done by the end of March, and then because I'm going to see the recipient, I thought I was going to see the recipient at the end of March, and then I realized I'm actually going to see the recipient at the end of April. And when I realized that, I took a minute and I was like, okay, well, that gives me an extra month. Do I want to try to like speed through it and finish it at the end of April? And then I kind of sat down and was like, well, if I do that, I would literally have to be knitting 2 squares a day to get it done. And right now, I don't have time to sit, like that would be all my knitting time during the day. Work has gotten super busy. I've got life stuff going on. Like the amount of time I have to knit, that would be the bulk of it. And there are other things that I want to work on and other projects that I want to see through right now. So I did some math, and as long as I knit 6 squares a month, I can have this blanket finished by Christmas time-ish, a little bit before, because I'm not going to see the recipient around Christmas time. I'm going to see them right before Christmas time. Like end of November, I think, is when I'm going to see them. So that's my goal now, is to finish it by the end of November. I thought it was a little insane, even when I was talking last episode, when I was talking about having finished, or trying to finish it by the end of March. Even afterwards, when I was editing the episode, I was like, that's a little insane. So I'm glad that I've switched the goal now. I feel much more at ease knowing that I can definitely do 6 squares in a month. Having said that, though, I'm already behind. So here are 2 squares that I've finished. This one, I think, was the one I was working on last episode, I think, but maybe it was this one. No, it was definitely this one. I was working on this one last week, and then this one this week. And then I don't know if the light is doing funky things, but that one's yellow and that one's orange. I know back here, they kind of, on my screen, they kind of look like they're the same color, but they're not. They're yellow and then orange. So yeah, I've got 2 squares done. Super, super fun. And I love the way that these just sort of, you just sew them together. Oh, well, I wouldn't do that because they don't look right like that. But you just kind of sew them together, and then they create like little pinwheels. I love them. I love these so much. So yeah, I've got these 2, and then living in my From London with Love bag, which is I purchased the fabric and then sent it to Georgiana Stitching Plaza and asked her to make me a bag out of it. There is the Stitching Plaza logo. So it looks like on the front, and then it kind of curves around to the side. Yeah. And she's a godsend. She's great. Anything that I, have in my head, I'm like, can you do this? And she pulls it off because she's amazing. And then I have just barely started my 3rd square for the blankets. It's some leftover rainbow yarn that kind of I never know how to say that. It's kind of like a gradient, so that looks really, really cool. And then I just started with my 2nd color, which is this brown. But yeah, so I'm working my way on the 3rd square. I technically have 4 squares left to knit, including the start of this one. I have 4 squares left to knit before the end of the month if I want to meet my goal. But something tells me I'll have to catch up in April or May, because I don't think in the last few days I'm going to manage to knit 4 squares. But anyways, though, that was my Pinwheel Scrap blanket. And then my other work in progress from last week, let me check my notes here. Yeah, my other work in progress from did I say last year? I don't know. My other work in progress from last episode was my Musselburgh beanie. And again, I never know how to say that. I know some people say Musselburgh. I've always said Musselburgh. I have not seen anywhere online where the designer has said how to pronounce it, so until I know for sure, I'm just gonna keep calling it Musselburgh. But this is a pattern by Isolde Teague. I can't remember if I said that last episode, but it's living in my Supernatural bag, which is another one by Stitching Plaza. And I love, love, love this bag. I think it's so cute. It's so cute. And she always has the cutest fabric on the inside too. Georgiana is great. If you ever need a bag, talk to her. She's your girl. Okay, and here is my Musselburgh. So if you haven't seen a Musselburgh beanie before, they're knit end to end. So you start with some increases and then you knit until it's pretty much like double the length that you would have for a beanie, and then you do some decreases, and then you kind of fold it in on itself, so it kind of, if this was done, it would fold in half, and then you would have a brim here at the bottom and then the decreases at the top. Decreases / increases. Anyway, it makes for it being completely reversible, which when you knit it all in the same color, that's not that much of a perk, I guess, because it's the same color inside and out. But for things like gradient skeins, I'm gonna learn how to say it right correctly one day. But for gradient skeins, it is great because obviously this could be the outside and it could go down into this, or depending on what my colors are going to look like at the other end of the beanie, I could wear it the other way facing out. Kind of just depends on what I want. But anyways, so the yarn I'm using for this is Lion Brand Mandala Baby in the Magic Moon colorway. I'm not going to take it out of the bag because it is starting to disintegrate, but I will lift the bag up and hopefully you'll be able to see it. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Not a great view, I know, but I don't want to take it out of the bag and get it all floofy because I'm pulling from the center, so the skein's starting to dissolve. Anyways, yeah. Lion Brand Mandala Baby in the Magic Moon colorway, and I'm using US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles, and I'm using my Knit Picks interchangeables. I had to check which ones. Okay, so here is where I was last episode. Man alive. Oh, there we go. So the sunflower is where I was last episode, and as you can see from there, I've knit all the way up, so that's great. I just love this so much. I think it's so cute. Yeah, so this is just plain stockinette knitting, lots and lots of stockinette knitting. It's fun though, because it's great to pull out when I'm like sitting and talking with someone, or I'm on the phone, or, you know, anything where I need something mindless, where I can pay attention to what someone's telling me or what I'm doing. but also sneak in a few rows is great knitting for me. So yeah, that's the Musselburgh beanie. I had that cast on last week. I started that February 4th and hoping to finish it sometime soon. My goal is kind of the end of April because I went through my yarn stash and I found a stack of skeins that I want to use for Musselburghs because they're the right weight that I'm looking to use up, and I don't see myself using them for socks or, you know, really anything else. So I think they'll be great Musselburgh beanies. And then I may give them to people at the end of the year, like as Christmas gifts, or I may donate them somewhere. I'm not sure yet. Either way, right now I'm just loving the process of knitting a Musselburgh and having just lots and lots of stockinette to work on. That isn't a sock. Speaking of socks though, that brings me to my new works in progress, the ones that I have cast on since last episode. And the first one that I'll talk about is living in my Winnie the Pooh bag. It's so cute. It's so cute. This was fabric I sent to Georgianne, and I actually don't remember talking about this one becoming a bag, and then it showed up with the package, and I was like, okay, so I guess this one became a bag. I can't remember exactly what we talked about with this fabric, but either way, I think it's super, super cute. So I'm gonna use it anyway. Her tag is not on here anywhere on the bag, but I assure you it did come from Georgianne of Stitching Plaza. And she used the cutest fabric on the inside. Oh my god. Oh my god. I love Pooh Bear. Who can look at Pooh Bear and not love him? Anyway, the project here, living in this bag, is a pair of socks. I'm affectionately calling them Socks for D. It's for a friend of mine that's is just very, very, very knit-worthy. So here's what it looks like so far. And I've got a contrast heel popped in there. That's what it looks like. I'm probably about halfway down the foot. I need to stop and measure actually where I'm at because it looks, just from eyeballing, it looks like I'm about halfway done, but I'm not sure. Let me give a good look at those colors. Such good purples. And the purples are interspersed with gray, so the heel actually like really, really matches, which is great. When I started this, for some reason, I remembered it being all purple stripes and not any gray at all. But the gray actually blends in really, really well, the gray of the heel. So the yarn I'm using for this is actually some reclaimed yarn. If you can tell by the state of this little mini skein, or mini cake rather. It's reclaimed yarn. I had knit a pair of socks maybe 3 years ago, and they kind of felt it a little bit because, well, the first major problem was that they were a size too small. I was still learning about my sock sizes. I knew like all the construction of socks, but for my actual sizes, I think I was knitting a size or two smaller than what it is I actually need to be wearing. So not only was this pair a little bit snug already, but then when it shrunk just a little bit in the washer and the dryer, because I don't hand wash my socks. I know that's like a sin. But I buy yarn specifically that is machine washable with the knowledge that they are going to felt a little bit in the dryer, which is now I know to knit it a little bit bigger than I would wear it for that type of yarn that is going to felt. That way I know if it shrinks a little bit, it's still going to fit. But back then, again, I was knitting a size or two small. And so then when it shrank, obviously now it's way too small to wear. So rather than waste the yarn, because I really did love working with this yarn, I ripped it out, caked it up, and am now knitting a new pair of socks with it. And speaking of, this is all I have left for the first sock. We're going to hope that it's enough to get me through. Like I said, I think I'm about halfway done. I think I have a little bit more to go. I think I maybe have 30, 35 more rows to go, which I think I can definitely get out of this, but we'll see. If not, I can always sub in the toe a little bit early, and that'll be fine. And speaking of the toe color, it's going to be the same yarn that I'm using for the heel, which is Stroll Fingering. It's a hair on it. Stroll Fingering in the ash colorway. It's just this nice neutral gray. I don't even know what I got this for originally, but now I'm using it for like heels, contrast heels and toes. Hopefully that yarn holds out to the end of the sock, and hopefully by April's podcast I will have a finished pair of socks to show you. Last new work in progress is living in my ginormous, humongous Galaxy bag. Literally bigger than my head. Literally bigger than my head. I cannot say enough good things about this bag. Of course, you know, this bag is going to be from the one, the only, the Georgianne of Stitching Plaza. There's her tag. There's so much to say about this bag. I love this bag. So back when I had sent some fabric to Georgianne of Stitching Plaza, I sent her this Galaxy print, and I was like, I want a bag that's like the biggest bag that you can make with this yarn. I mean, with this fabric. Because I want to be able to knit sweaters with it. I want to be able to knit sweaters that use 8, 12, 15 skeins of yarn, like worsted weight, bulky weight. Like I want to be able to put a Cozy Memories in this blanket. I mean, in this bag, like a Cozy Memories blanket in this bag. Like I want this bag to be huge. And she texted me a picture of the bag, like on her head, and she was like, "Is this big enough?" And I was like, "Oh my god, yes, 100% yes." So yeah, she really, really came through with the vision I had in my head and created something so incredible. And I can't even. It's huge. It's huge. And it even has a little carry strap. And she put some fun, like, star print fabric on the inside. I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera because they are kind of like, not faded, but they're like faint stars, kind of like outlines and stuff. But anyway, living in this massive, amazing bag is the start of my, what's it called? My Stained Glass Rain adult sweater fingering weight version. So last episode I showed a finished baby sweater that I had made that was like white and rainbow, and that was the worsted weight version of the Stained Glass Rain baby sweater. So it was the worsted weight version. I've not knit the fingering weight version yet for the babies, well, babies to children. But I started working on the adult one because I'm too excited. So let me get it out here. Okay, so here's a snapshot of it. Look at that. Isn't that the most incredible thing you've ever seen? Oh my god, I love it so much. So I'm starting at the collar. I knit the collar, and then I've started on the increases for the body and the sleeves. I'm doing this top-down raglan. I had thought I was gonna do it bottom up drop shoulder sweater, not seamed, but just drop shoulder. But then the more that I was looking at the way that these lines go, the more I was thinking, if I do that, the sleeves then have to be plain because the lines are going to be going in opposite directions until you get like to the elbow of the sleeve. And I don't necessarily want the lines going in opposite directions. I feel like that's going to pull away from the overall like look of the design. So I actually had all the math done and was like ready to cast on for the bottom up drop shoulder. And then when I realized that about the lines, I was like, okay, now I got to redo all of this math and figure out like how I'm doing it for a raglan, because a raglan's definitely the way to go for this. There it is. And it's so pretty and I love it. And I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera here. I don't think it's showing up that well at all. But this is actually, obviously this is going to show up as white. But the yarn here is actually 3 different colors. Well, actually, it's 4. What's on the needles, at least if I can get that closer to the camera, what's on the needles is definitely like a different shade than what's on the body. Oh, maybe you can kind of see the different colors here. You just gotta hit it with the light, I guess. They're all different shades of blue, and I will say that in person, they're not that obvious of a shift in color. I had laid out, so the yarn, let me talk about the yarn I'm using before I get into all this. So the yarn I'm using, the white, is Stroll fingering weight in the white colorway. And this is a new skein. I've not broken into this one yet. I'm using up the last of a little bit of a skein. Let me grab it. I've got that much left, so I'm almost out. I'm definitely gonna have to buy more white. I knew that I would too. I was kind of hoping that first little bit that I had would get me through the sleeve separation, but it's definitely not going to. I think I have like 40, maybe 45 more rows before I'm done with the sleeve separation, so that's definitely not going to work. So I'm definitely going to have to attach the next skein. But so I am going to have to order some more of this white soon. But the colors that I'm using is a bunch of, I'm just going to grab a handful. I'm not even going to look at them. A bunch of mini skeins. I'm using just a ton of, there's another hair. I swear, my hair is everywhere. Just a bunch of mini skeins that I got in an advent swap. I swapped with 3 different makers in December, so we could each do like makeshift advent calendars. And I really lucked out with my partners. I swapped with Maddie of Made by Maddie, and she's one half of the We Share Needles podcast. She's adorable, by the way. So was her co-host Kristen. They're adorable. If you have not seen the We Share Needles podcast, I'm going to leave a link below because they are fantastic ladies. And Kristen's expecting a little baby soon. I can't remember when she said she's due. I think she said she's due in April. Either way, I'm very excited. Because Kristen's so adorable, and her baby is just going to be so loved, and that's going to be like the most well knit for baby ever, because Maddie's just going to go crazy and make her a bunch of stuff. I can tell. But yeah, so Maddie was one of the people that I swapped with in December, and I also swapped with Georgiano Stitching Plaza and Eloise of I think it's Eloise Crochet on Instagram, but it might be Eloise C Crochet. I'm not sure exactly. Either way, I'll leave links to all these people in the description box because I don't remember their usernames off the top of my head. Anyways, yeah, so I got some mini skeins and I laid them all out on my floor. I had like obviously 25 days from 3 people, so 75 minis. And I laid them all out on my floor, and I was like, well, I'm not going to need 75 for this project. Like, I thought for some reason I was going to need 34. And then when I sat down and did the math, I realized it's actually going to be closer to about 18 to 20, depending on how much I like to fluctuate with the body of the sweater. Because obviously everybody's got their preferences, and I'm going to have it written in the pattern, like how long the body needs to be. But if you get there and you want to knit more, then obviously you're going to knit more. So right now it's looking like I need between 18 to 20. And because I had like 30, I think I had like 43 or something picked out, because I had so many, I began to go through and I'm pulling out the ones that are too close in tone, because when I first laid all them out, I thought I was going to need them like a lot closer in color to get like a true fade. But obviously from what I've shown you right here, you can see like they were a little too close in tone, the first 4 that I chose, because they're very similar in color. Which is fine. I'm not going to write back all this work just for that. It's going to be perfectly fine. But that means I may have enough yarn, or I may have enough mini skeins, left over to do a second iteration of this sweater. And I thought what might be fun is to randomly pull out the minis, so I don't even know what I'm working with until it's done. You know what I mean? Like, I just pull a random mini out of the bag and start knitting it up into the sweater. I think that would be so fun. It would get so crazy so fast, but it would be so fun. Or maybe I'm just thinking too much. Would I even wear a sweater that's that crazy? Anyway, before I start talking about dream cast-ons and get carried away, I'm going to give one last obligatory shot of this. I can't even. Words cannot even express how happy I am to finally be working on this project. This has been living in my head since I first designed the if I didn't say, this is based off a sock pattern that I have called the Stained Glass Rain Socks, which is already available on Ravelry, Etsy, Lovecrafts, everywhere. So this sweater is based off of the stitch pattern used in that sock pattern. And I thought about the sweater like almost immediately as I was knitting up the socks. I was like, this would be great for sweaters. But I needed to take a beat and figure out how I wanted to do it, because obviously I came up with a couple of ideas that didn't work. But I'm really happy with where we've landed. I'm excited to see it grow. I can't wait to split for the sleeves. I think it's going to be so great once I can finally see it like actually take shape. That's the best part of a sweater, in my opinion, is the moment after you cast off the sleeves or you separate the sleeves from the body. It's so good, because you can finally see what it looks like and it has a shape. Anyway, before I get too up there and start gushing about sweaters again, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys have had a great March. Let me know in the comments if there is a project that you're trying to get off the needles. We can cheer each other on. and let me know if there is a dream cast on that you're thinking of starting. I already want to start another Musselburgh, but I'm gonna not do that until I finish this one. And I don't know when I'm gonna finish the Musselburgh yet. I may try to aim for the end of April, so I can still get in my squares for the pinwheel scrap blanket, and I can still work on the sweater, and I can work on the socks and get those finished and everything. So I'm not putting a deadline on the Musselburgh right now. Hopefully it'll be the next one I finish after the socks, but we shall see what I actually end up doing. Hopefully by this time I will have more than, or at least 12 squares to show you for the pinwheel scrap blanket, and also lots and lots of progress on the stained glass rain sweater. So thanks so much for joining me for episode 10 of the Ask Christine Designs podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you got some knitting done with it, and I shall see you in April. I almost said May for some reason. I will see you in April to discuss everything that I have finished and everything that I am working on in April. Fingers crossed that I don't cast on more new projects, because the last thing I need is to fill up my works in progress cabinet again. I will see you guys in April. I hope you have a great rest of March, and I hope you have a great April, and I will see you then. So, take care. Bye.